off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on NBC News Radio, CNBC News, and NBC Sports radio station, KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Amazon Music, Tiki Live, Rumble, Podchaser, Spreaker, Streaker, and more. Why so many places? Because I want to maximize my splatter zone for more hope and happiness. So there's no gossip, no scandal, no political rhetoric on this show. Instead, I want you to focus on how to be happy no matter what. 88% of the time. This might be a 12% of the time, but we're going to try to make it an 88% of the time. If you've missed any of my 1,263 past shows, but who's counting over the last 653 consecutive weeks, thank you very much for continuing to support the show about hope and happiness, that balance and all the bad news out there with good news. So we don't talk about the headlines, even though today will be a little bit difficult not to talk about the headlines, but we want this to be a safe place for you not to get caught up in the angst all the time. So we're going to try to do that today. And, you know, Dr. Tiffanie and I love challenges. You can see she's here. She is a veteran OBGYN, singer, songwriter, author, and friend of mine. And we've been co-hosts together on Doctors in the House with myself and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
For how long? Are you keeping count?
Nope, because it's too much fun. Why count?
But welcome back to the studio, Dr. Tiffanie Tate. I rarely talk to my co-hosts before the show because I want to keep everything fresh. But this morning was a little bit different. And we're going to go right into the gratitude sandwich to set the tone for today's show. The gratitude sandwich is part of breakfast. We want to have breakfast with you. I do every single morning, weekday morning when I'm on the air. It's a good life habit. It's a hashtag Blisscipline to start your day with gratitude, top of the bun, and end the day with gratitude turned inwards appreciation. So we'll model that for you and how we want to prepare you tonight. But today, probably the top of the bun is the more important one. Usually the bottom of the bun is the one I want you to remember. But to start your day being grateful, there's always something to be grateful for, and that's probably the lesson today. But I am grateful that yesterday my doctor told me I did not have breast cancer, and the two cysts that she found were non-tumors. So I think I'm going to give myself.
Well,
and yes.
Okay, that is absolutely fabulous. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. I had two cute little Band-Aids on my boob. And so I gave it some love this morning and appreciation. And I just saw this weird thing fly by my window. It looked like a part of a witch. But I am great. And I'm going to jump down to the bottom of the bun because it relates to this particular thing. And I'll forget it if I don't. I appreciate my ability to not go there. Not once did I Google about what worst case scenario could be with my breast. I didn't worst case scenario, breast cancer. I didn't worst case scenario. I didn't even talk about it. Like I told my Thursday co-host, and he's like, I didn't even know. And it's because I made a point of not saying anything because I didn't want to worry about something that I didn't know for sure. And that's my Blisscipline is I'm not going to worry about something unless there's something to worry about until that moment of, whatever it is comes true. And most of the time it doesn't. So I appreciate my ability to practice what I teach most of the time.
That's really a good attitude to have when going into anything because you don't want to overthink things. And everyone should do what you just did, be optimistic when being evaluated. And my gratitude is that I was able to go out and spend some quality time with my daughter, Mia, yesterday. We
Yeah.
had a wonderful lunch and it was just wonderful spending time with her, talking to her. And I'm so very thankful when I get to have that quality time with my daughter.
I am grateful that I know Mia, not very well, but well enough to love her. And I just think she is beautiful inside and out, on top of having a voice like an angel. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the relationships that I have because of this show. I think that, wow, I'm going to get emotional. Just like the level of love that I have for guests. And, I was going through my, all the people that I've gotten to meet in my red carpet, all the celebrities who are just, just like everybody's a celebrity in the sense that we've all done something meaningful, but when they're in the public eye, and so they're cool. And I'm grateful that because of my work, I get to meet cool people all across the board.
Well,
What else are you grateful for?
I am thankful for being blessed with just having to be able to see another day because no matter what, the sun always rises and the sun is always shining. And it's just a blessing to be able to rise and breathe and walk and live.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I say I'm grateful that the planets did not crash into each other last night. And I'm grateful that I had my second date and it was great. And there are plans. We'll see what happens for a third date on Saturday night. So, I mean, that's going to break my record of no third dates. So there you go. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not going to say anything else until it actually makes it to maybe 8 dates. How's that?
Very good. The lucky number.
That's right. Homophone for good fortune. What last gratitude? What are you grateful for?
And I am grateful that my dog is doing better. He was having a little bit of arthritis pain, and so
Oh,
he's been getting doggy shots. He has doggy insurance, so he gets his doggy shots. And so now he's doing better and he's running around. So I'm always grateful for little Mickey Jack.
fabulous. Let's go to the bottom of the button. What do you like about yourself? It's gratitude turned inwards. It is, for me, the foundation of good mental health, self-care, self-love, self-soothing. So I want you to work your muscle here on the show. What do you like about yourself? And it is usually the question that kind of takes my guests or co-hosts a little bit of, getting used to, because we're taught not to toot our own horn, not to think we're all that. But when we buy into that BS belief system, we tend to walk around looking for likes in all the wrong places on social media, looking for, who approves of me. But frankly, my dear, if you can't approve of yourself, how the fork do you expect anybody else to? So that's why we do this. So what do you like about yourself, Dr. Tiffanie?
I like my spirituality. I have had the ability to lead a few prayer vigils and speak in church, and it has been uplifting. And I was told that I was very encouraging to others. So I am embracing my spirituality more and more, and I am enjoying that part of me.
I appreciate my ability to change my mind, that I'm not so rigid that I block out learning new things, learning new viewpoints, learning new ways of being happy, learning to embrace a wider group of people, and that is I appreciate that about myself. One more.
And I appreciate my ability to uplift people's spirits because when other people are feeling down, I find that I do have the ability to tap into their sorrow and empathize with them and sympathize with them and help elevate them and help them embrace some form of joy.
Beautiful. I appreciate my ability to allow great things to happen in my life. It's partly uh, a, a result of being a recovering control freak. I used to think like I had to make things happen and things, so I would push and really grind in order to get things good in my life. And I realized that I have a UPS man, a universal power source, who delivers every day in every moment, as long as I'm aligned with that creative, positive, loving energy, and that I know how to um, monitor my own thoughts so that I'm not hating or being in anger, which blocks all the synchronous, wonderful things that can happen in my life. More than just great parking spots, but I've definitely been on a roll with those. But I appreciate that about myself, and want to welcome Jerry, who's here. Hello. Good morning to you as well. Feel free, Jerry, to put in any of your gratitudes or appreciations about yourself. I already said one more, so we'll just finish off breakfast. Thanks for joining us for breakfast this morning. It's taking a bite of our gratitude sandwich, a good life habit, a hashtag Blissipline that I hope you continue for the next 28 days with or without me on the air, so that you can sandwich your day in the most positive way. Thanks for joining us for breakfast. All righty. And it is time for the topic of the day, which, by the way, was chosen before yesterday. So it's an interesting irony. But what is it, Dr. Tiffanie?
Yes, and hey, Jerry, and her gratitude was that she is grateful to be alive. She just put that in the cashew.
Awesome.
Yes, I picked this topic on Sunday, and it is bye bye bitterness. And I picked this topic because sometimes in life, people can let us down, friends can let us down, life in general can let us down. And we can become bitter, we can become angry, and sometimes we can become resentful. And it's not good to have any of those feelings. And I figured it was important for us to talk about just anger, bitterness, resentfulness, and let's digest these things, address these things, and say bye bye to these things. Because
Yes.
when life comes at you hard, let's just soften it up and put it aside.
And regardless of the results, this is a very timely topic because half of our nation is not happy right now. And I have a very strict rule about not talking in particular about religion and politics that I've been able to manage, except for one violation, which I did back in 2016. And as a result of that, it was a major loss, 35,000, I was told, listeners and watchers. And because of that, I had to really look at what is my ultimate reason to have this show. And it is my Happy 88 mission, hope and happiness, 88 million more happy people in the next 8 years. And so even though that's what everybody is talking about right now, and I also want to practice what I teach, which is feel your feelings fully, and then choose. I did that this morning through meditation, cried, and then I reached out to Dr. Tiffanie to make sure that we were aligned in, the mission of this show. So I'm hoping that you've already processed if you're not happy, right, with someone who cares about you and who can commiserate with you, but then don't lose any more than an hour of your time. And so I think that I'm really grateful that Dr. Tiffanie had no talking into as far as what we're going to do today. But at the same time, I think that we still have 14 minutes left. The first half of the show, I like to be real about what is happening, about how we may be bitter, what we're bitter about. And then in the second half of the show, we go to solution. So I think we can safely talk about some of the things maybe now that people are feeling, what they're bitter about, and then address all of those in the second half. So if you've just tuned in, you're wondering what's going on in studio today. This is Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balance with Dr. Marissa and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
And it's our special series, Doctors in the House. Dr. Tiffanie is an MD, if you were wondering. I'm a PhD. That's why we have doctors in the house. All of the advice that we give are opinions, but we do have experienced opinions in both of our respective paths in our experience as an MD, as a PhD, and happiness coach and psychologist. I'm a psychologist. I'm an organizational psychologist. So just saying that to make sure we stay clear as well out of this litigious society. But what are people before yesterday and today? The things that I hear people really bitter about is having their hearts broken or feeling betrayed by their insignificant other or their husband or their partner. That's a big bitter pill that I hear a lot about. What about you?
Also, their friends. A lot of times people are bitter and betrayed by their best friend or close acquaintances, and even their jobs. A lot of people are often bitter and betrayed by their jobs and coworkers. That's another big issue because people are not treated fairly. And they thought that they've put in their work and they put in their time and their dedication, and they thought they were going to get a promotion or a bonus or a raise, or they thought they were going to be treated fairly and they were let go, and something happened and their job wasn't there for them, or they depended on a friend to do something. They thought they were going to be the best man or their maid of honor or go on a trip, and their friend let them down and didn't do something. What do you do? Or their friend did not meet their expectation. And how do you address that? And you're bitter and you're angry and you're hurt. And that hurt can fester and become a sore wound and an open wound. And that bitterness can become can make you resentful.
Yeah. And bosses who didn't give you the promotion that you were hoping or expecting for, companies that don't give you the respect or the kudos or the promotions, whatever that is, that your expectations are, could be righteously indignant. All the signs show that you should have gotten what you think you should be getting and you don't get it. And that bitterness, like Dr. Tiffanie said, is kind of like an infection. And if you don't deal with the bitterness, it gets infected and it gets deeper and then it gets oozier and starts smelling. It's not pretty. So I think we can all agree that bitterness is really not something that you want to consciously keep in your life. I just had I love looking at the origin of things. Do you know where that idiom came from, to swallow a bitter pill?
Where?
I'm going to look it up right now. I just love doing this. It is, I'll share this so you know I'm not lying. Not that I have a habit of lying to you, but I do like to share a screen when I'm doing research. To accept a difficult or unpleasant factor or situation, our people have swallowed a bitter pill in it. It's easy learning. Okay, so I don't want the definition. I want where did it come for? An extreme vexation. What is the meaning behind this? Where's the origin? I wrote an article. Are you calling me an idiom? With my bonus dad, where we looked at the here we go, where we looked at the origin of idioms. Let's see, it still doesn't say where it came from because oh, here we go. 17th century. Let's see. In 1736, the French historian wrote, this event, which happened the 7th, was immediately followed by the relieving of time after with the total expulsion of the French, a bitter pill to swallow. Interesting. So basically, they don't really know who. I mean, it started with him, but it still meant the same thing. So something to maybe, if anyone is listening, I know I have some really curious listeners and watchers who know stuff that I don't, but that's something to come back to. So obviously I'll put the moose on the table. Half of our nation right now is maybe not bitter, but on the way to bitter. They are not happy with the results of the election. And again, as I mentioned before, I think it's important for you to process that in its full. Get angry. I equate it to the stages of Kubler-Ross's stages of death and dying. In denial first, I can't believe this happened, to getting angry about it, to getting sad about it, to then working your way into acceptance. And we're going to actually give some tools specifically to that when we hit the halfway mark. But what other things are people potentially bitter about?
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say a lot of times I was going to look at the difference between resentment and bitterness, because a lot of times resentment is basically the potential response to perceived injustice or harm, while bitterness hints at the distasteful, distressing versus cynical and or severe emotional experience associated with the animosity of reproach, grief, or regret. It's like constantly repeated offenses. And so as it's recurring over and over and over again, it's kind of like it's building and the pressure continually builds. And then the people are like that soda pop bottle that eventually pops its top. And when people internalize those feelings, they feel that offense, and as they process it, they don't really know what to do. And when they have all these feelings towards that person, they have these emotions and they're hurt. And so when they want to go to the person, they don't know how to communicate it. And so that bitterness is rooted in this hurt. And when we feel that someone has offended or wronged us in a few ways, the symptoms is the inability to hear someone's name, intentional avoidance, complete refusal to communicate the thoughts, or even revenge.
Well, that's definitely applicable to today's situation. I see bitterness as resentment on steroids. So you can have a righteous indignation, anger, but then when you take it down that road of worst case scenario, looking at so I'll use an example. I'll put the moose on the table. those who are not happy with the election results, personally, professionally, and I've heard the thought of, oh my God, our country's going to go backwards. We're going to be put back into chaos. All the, valuing diversity and friendliness to people of color and recognizing that we're all one is going to be destroyed. I've heard that MAGA should be MAWA instead of making America great again. It should be called making America white again. These are all the things that I've heard, and I'm doing this on purpose because we don't have we don't talk about politics and religion, but we have to today because of the topic and providing some strategies for relief in 3.5 minutes when we cross the halfway mark of the show. But to put that if you're in that place right now where you are just reeling or extremely upset, I think Dr. Tiffanie had to put out some friend fires this morning because people were just in a place of, needing to be talked off the ceiling kind of thing. So bitterness is right on time as a topic, but just recognizing that once today is through, that how you choose to deal with your feelings of disappointment and anger. And I wouldn't say there's anything to be resentful about yet, but certainly this is where those negative feelings, if you let them take over and go into worry and fear and worst case scenario, you are purposely choosing to hurt your health.
And I'm going to say this, one of the greatest struggles in life is living with other people. We have all experienced lies, hurtful words, abandonment, betrayal, and being ignored, forgotten, not heard. So we as a people, no matter what side you're on, have had these feelings. So I think this is just a referendum of what has happened. This is the fallout of that. Whether you feel that prices are too high when you go and buy groceries, the gas prices are too high. Because I have friends who have voted for Trump. I have friends who have voted for Kamala. It doesn't matter what side you're on. Everybody feels like they have not been heard. So I have talked to people everywhere. And I think the reality is that everybody is still here. Everybody's going to wake up, put their pants on, put their skirts on, and go to work. It doesn't matter what side you're on. It doesn't matter who you voted for. You're still here. You're still blessed with another day. It doesn't matter who is in political office. We are all still here. We all still have to live together. We all still have to work together. And we're all still going to be friends. There once was a day that we could wake up and joke and tease people. There once was a day that we would make fun of each other because of our political views.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't matter who we voted for. We're all still friends. And we need to get back to that point where we could all still be together and not be so polarized. And we could all still love one another. But we're all to the point where you're over here and you're over here. We need to come back together because we're all still Americans. And we can all do this if we are united and not polarized. And we don't have kings in America. We have a president. And we need to remember that. And we need to hold our president accountable. And if our president isn't accountable, they need to be removed. And we need to remember that as well.
Mm-hmm. And she jumped the gun on solution. That was 1.5 minutes too early over the halfway mark of the show, but we'll forgive her because it was absolutely 1000% exactly the choice that we are both asking you to make today of all days. Again, if you haven't, don't do a spiritual bypass on this. I'm fine. It's all going to be great. Oh, yay. We're not saying that at all. I hope that you have had time to get whatever feeling it is that you need, because it's so important to be fully expressed with your pain, your disappointment, your anger. I did it this morning for a half an hour. I cried during meditation because I feel betrayed because I gave up my Canadian citizenship. But at the same time, I know this too shall pass. We did, and this is a democratic system, and the people have spoken, and I don't understand all of it, but I do know we have systems in place, as Dr. Tiffanie said, that if things, don't go the way we want them to go, the worst thing we can do right now is go into worst case scenario. The worst thing we can do now is to forget that we are above this. And Monday, I had a choice. I could either break my rule about talking about politics, because I've received some criticism of why I don't use my platform the way Oprah does to be very clear about who she's supporting. And I struggled with that because I don't like being criticized, number one. And two, they've got a good point there. But on the other hand, I had to look back, one, at what happened when I did do that in 2016 before that election, and I lost 35,000 listeners. Not that numbers matter, but it was pointed out to me, I think it was my big brother, Michael Bernard Beckwith, that my message and my brand is hope and happiness. And if I'm losing people with which, regardless of their politics, this transcends politics. This message of hope and happiness and loving, lovable, and lovable, loved, who we all are, transcends who's in office. And so I made a decision Monday to talk more about what Dr. Tiffany's saying, which is we have to get back. You want to make America able to agree to disagree again, right? That's what we need to do. We need to get back to the place where we're all American. We all want what's best. We all want to end gun violence. We all want safety. We all want fairness. We all want love and caring. So bipartisan is my favorite word. So can we get back to the place where we can agree to disagree instead of this, you're wrong, I hate you, you should not exist. And that's scary. That slide to that is scary to me. So I'm hoping if you've tuned in, we're not talking about politics in the way everybody else is talking about politics right now. We're talking about it because right now we want you not to be bitter. We want you to move in the direction where we can all get into the united part of the states, the can part of American. Mm-hmm. And we better take a break. So we'll be right back. I missed the station ID because I got a little bit, it's your fault. I'm going to blame you because you got me going before the half mark, but we're so delighted that you're here. You're going to hear some balanced reactions today about the election. But most importantly, when we come back, we'll continue to talk about solution so you can say bye-bye to bitterness. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Chuck Woolery says 2 and 2. We say peace in, peace out. Don't go away. And we're going to hear from our show sponsor, Dr. Tiffanie Tate, and her fabulous books, One Way Return. We'll be right back.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
I'm Dr. Tiffanie Tate, and I want to let you know that you can go to Amazon and Barnes & Nobles and pick up any of my fabulous books. My newest book is Money Matters, and it is about 3 brothers who find $100 on their way home from the park. It teaches children about saving, tithing, and investing. I also have another book called Bad Touching. It teaches children about how to be safe. You can also pick up my book, Little Engine Mia Sings. It teaches children about bullying. I also have a book called Floetry. It is for adults. Go ahead, pick it up today. Thank you.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And we're back. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News Radio, home to the Asian Oprah, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, and of course, my YouTube TV channel, which has all 1,263 of my past podcast shows, but who's counting over the last 653 consecutive weeks. We're so glad you're here. It is Wednesday, so you know it's time for Straight Talk with Dr. Marissa and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
And you just heard about her fabulous books, her children's books that are so important, great for the holidays. If you are a parent and you want some good books with which to, talk about some topics that are not easy to talk about necessarily, but are so necessary because you don't want them learning about things like money or touching with their peers or people who have ill intent. So you definitely want to pick up a book for the holidays. All right. And our topic today is
bitterness. Bye-bye, bitterness.
And we're putting the moose on the table specifically for any of the half of the Americans, not the majority, but the ones who might be bitter today because of the results of the election. And we would be speaking the same thing either way, whichever way it happened, because it seems like we are pretty divided pretty closely, more so than in the history of our country. So we have to address the moose on the table, which is how do we not live in bitterness going forward from today? So we talked a little bit about tools. I'm going to say one of them is worst case scenario, hashtag dropout of MSU University. I've had several people mention, where the worst case scenario now is all of the rights that are going to continue to be taken away. More rights are going to be continued. All the things, worst case scenario. And that is part of making Shiitake up university, because all of these things we don't know. Don't become a conspiracy theorist where you're going to go to a place that really you don't need to go. Also, I say this, one, because there's a Native American saying, worry is like a prayer for bad things to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want that. So don't do that. And also, worst case scenario can make you feel sick. Paranoia makes you sick. It negatively impacts your immune system.
Yeah. And I would say avoid talking bad about others. And I know that sometimes just because other people, like your parents say, just because they do it doesn't mean you should do it too. And it has been said, when they go low, we go high. And that's what we should do. So avoid talking bad about others. Don't stoop. I think it's important to take the high road and don't be a bully. I think it's important to appreciate the good things about our country and reflect on our past and know the history. Know the history of our past, know the history of our presidents, and know that when presidents don't do what they're supposed to do, that there are ramifications for that. And just know that we can do well. And there still is hope for our country, and we can do okay. So trust and believe that there is a can in America, and just seek grace that we are going to be okay, because America has always been a resilient place. And it doesn't matter who is in the White House. We have always persevered. We have always been okay. Now, we talked about this subject not just with respect to America, we talked about it with respect to relationships, with respect to friendships, and with respect to your job. So, this subject can still have the same effect. So you can also change your expectation with respect to your job. So if you're having issues on your job and you're suffering from resentment there, you can reflect on what you have done. You can seek support from maybe an ombudsman if there's someone there, and look at your HR and seek remedies there, and look for support and the support avenues, because you don't have to feel like you're being bullied or anything there, because there are also avenues that you can seek for support. In a relationship, reflect on the past and pray and see if you want to stay, because your happiness is important.
One of the things that you said earlier about talking about things that are bothering you, I think is a huge tool on whether bitterness will take hold or not. I have a practice called vent partnering. I have one person, I used to have two, where I could safely talk about things that are bothering me, but they timed me for 2 minutes. And after I finished those 2 minutes, I was not allowed to say the same thing again for the rest of the day. And I think that that is hugely applicable for today. The tendency to misery loves company, wanting to commiserate. I agree for one or two people maximum, but the worst thing you can do today is continue to do this MS, meaningless scrolling, looking for people that agree with you, looking for people that disagree with you, because it really doesn't matter. I want you to ask yourself that question all day. Right now, is this time that I'm going to complain for an hour, is it going to make a difference? Number one, the answer is no, just to give you the answer right away. Number two, what am I not doing as a result of spending this hour doing this? Mm-hmm. So I'm proud of the fact that I did not listen and I did not ask for what was going on all day yesterday until the very end, because I didn't want to lose a day glued to watching colors on a map. I didn't want to do it because I had other things. I was able to finish uploading things. I was able to, have really great creative project time. There were so many other things that I didn't lose out on. So I would ask you for this day, for tomorrow, for the rest of the week on you have a choice. Is it true? 3 questions to ask. Is it true? Is it kind? And is it necessary? I think we can do well for ourselves and act on our own behalf if we are a little more responsible and disciplined or blissciplined with how we choose to focus. What are you looking at? If you're looking at something that pisses you off, quit forking looking at it. If you're listening to a TV program that gets you riled up and angry, quit listening to it unless it's really going to make a difference. But 9 out of 10 times, I will tell you right now, it's not going to make a difference. Go ahead.
And try to change people. Don't argue with people. I always say I don't argue with adults. It's not worth it. It's a waste of your air. It's a waste of energy. It's a waste of time, and it's not worth getting your blood pressure up. I mean, if you want a healthy debate just for fun, I think that's fine. But
I don't even
don't try to.
I don't even like those.
Don't try to
There's no
change
such thing as
people.
a healthy debate. It's an unhealthy debate because when you're debating, you're just insisting that your way or your way of looking things is correct and the other person's is wrong. You're trying to convince them to see it your way. Why?
So
You
yeah,
know, why
this
bother? It's like the caffeinated coffee. Why bother? Believe as you do. Be really clear about that.
so
But
no
why do you
caffeinated
have to
coffee for you.
convince me to think like you forking? No, I'm sorry.
No decaffeinated coffee for you, huh? So yeah, I would say don't try to change people. I think it's important to you have a right to believe what you believe. That's what makes America great. That's why I was in the military, because we have a right to have our own religion. We have a right to our own political beliefs. That is what makes America great. Our independent, our ability to be independent. And you have a right to your own beliefs. I have a right to my own beliefs. And I don't have that right to force you to believe what I believe. And we have a right to be independent in and of ourselves. So don't try to force your beliefs on other people, and be content being you. And it's all great. It's all
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Here's another tool. I call it the microwave tool because we've lost the ability to disagree without calling people names or, uh, um, um, hating them or putting them down or telling them go back to the country you came from. That way of looking at differences is not healthy and it's really hurting us. So, microwave, you walk by a microwave and you smell something that you're not crazy about. Usually the reaction is, they need to be, we got to have rules for what to put in the microwave these days. Like, how dare they? It's horrible. Judge, 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 insult, insult, insult. And so, as a diversity consultant, I say, let's approach differences differently. And people will say, oh, are you telling me I have to go walk and say, I don't want that, but oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I know that's stupid. That's the other extreme, which is also not healthy. We're not saying you don't have your preferences or your views or your beliefs, but can you walk by the microwave, say, I don't think I want to try that, but I wonder what it is. Can we be curious about differences instead of judging, calling names, and down that road of what I see at the end, the worst case scenario of that? I'm going to violate my rule for a second, but this is where we're going. If we're that intolerant and we hate differences that much, to the point where we're willing to hurt people, that's ethnic cleansing. That's religious cleansing. But when you hate it that much that you cannot be in the same space, that's where we're going when we hate the difference. So please, can we just see a different point of view as, oh, that's interesting. Not there myself, but tell me where you get that from, without reacting. And if you can't do it without reacting, don't ask the question. I just don't ask the question.
I completely get it. And I know that this country is one of the greatest countries, if not the greatest country. That's why I live here. And not to mention I was born here. And
I wasn't. And I chose to be an American after 9/11. So, yeah.
And I served in the military here.
Yeah.
I chose to serve in the military. That was an option. That was an election. It's a voluntary military. And I think that we need to be very cognizant of every decision that we make. And I believe that when you vote, you have a right to complain. If you did not vote, you do not have a right to complain.
Did you see my promo on that yesterday?
Yes, I did. And that's just my opinion. And everybody has a right to opinion. I believe opinions are like buttholes. Everybody has one, and sometimes they stink. And again, that's my opinion.
Everybody has a right to my opinion.
Yeah, that's right. And so I just think that as we deal with these things, we just need to move forward. And I believe that as we take 2 steps forward and 1 step back, that is still 1 step in the right direction.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it really, you know, you can look at everything in a positive way or a negative way. Um, it's your choice which way you want. I just know that if I look at it in a negative way, it doesn't make me feel good. And I'm all about feeling good. So that's the choice. Every moment of today is the thought that you're having, is the program that you're watching, is the post that you're viewing, is the comment that you're making. Does it make you feel better or worse? If it makes you feel better, go for it. If it makes you feel worse, don't. If what you're saying you think may have a worse impact on that person, don't. If you think it's edifying and complimentary and will make and lift another person, do it. Those are my rules for interaction. Those are my rules of engagement. Hopefully you will adopt those, because frankly, my dear, I feel good most of the time, because I do actually take my own advice most of the time. And I can't stress this enough. Those who come to me for happiness coaching, the choices they make and what they focus on, you're the boss of you. That's why I'm teaching this course, Personal Mastery. People do not realize they have the power and the ability to feel better than they do in and of themselves. Nothing has to change. No, your president didn't have to be elected. You can still be happy. Mm-hmm. You can still have a happy life. I rest my case.
Absolutely. As I told a few people this morning, like I said, a few people, it doesn't matter who is in the White House. You still have breath in your body. You still have life in your body. You still have the ability to move your legs. You still have the ability to eat. You're still going to wake up, take a shower, put your clothes on, go about your day. And as long as you have that ability, things are going to get better. And we are still in the great state of California.
Yes.
And we are still going to do fabulous things in our state. And we are still going to move forward one day at a time. Yeah. And it doesn't matter who is in the White House. California is going to be great. Life is going to be great. We are going to be great. And we can do great things here.
Peter Senge has a circle of control, circle of influence model that I like to use when I teach. And that is, if you can figure out what you have 100% control over and concern over, you're winning. A lot of people spend a lot of time worrying about things that are out of their control. And so I'm going to ask you to just look at everything that you're worried about right now. Do you really have control over them? If you have a little bit of control, let's go do it. If you want to run for office, go run for office. I've had people say to me, you should run for office. And I say, because I wasn't born here, the highest I can go is Secretary of State. And if I'm going to spend my life doing that, I got to be president or nothing. So that's my answer for anybody who's getting ready to ask me that. But I do know that I have 100% control over only one thing. It's not Dr. Tiffanie. It's not voting. It's not who's president. The 100% is me and what I choose to focus on. So y'all are in that same boat. You may not think that because your habit is to allow producers with news hijack your focus, and you think that people make you watch stuff or people are forcing you to do things, but that's bullshit-taki. You are the captain of your attention. So we're encouraging you today to focus on things that make you feel good, focus on possibilities. Hey, I think there are more voters now than there ever have been. Is that about accurate? I have to go fact check that, but that's something positive. That means that, we are realizing the power we have, but we have to vote. I think there's more young people who are, I know in our generation, we will complain maybe a little more and actually do less. I'm just, as a blanket statement, I'm only saying that in comparison. There's a lot of young people who are unhappy and they're actually doing something about it. They're joining groups that are, advocating for more people of color in leadership, whatever that is, they're actually doing it. So if you're that unhappy, do something about it. If you voted, great. The next step is there's plenty of organizations that are doing things to make sure that whatever government it is being held accountable for what they are promising or what they're seeking to do. If you're for it, then work for it. If you're against it, then work for somebody that's working against it. But there's so many things you can do besides, moving your lips and getting angry and hurting yourself in the process.
Absolutely.
Final word?
Final word is, remember, you can let go of bitterness, let go of pain, let go of hurt. Don't let that control your joy and happiness. You are responsible for your joy and happiness, not politicians, not your job, not your partner, not your friends, you.
Perfect. That's it for a very interesting and challenging, I will say, but we did it. Dr. Tiffanie, we deserve our own pat on the back today because there were a lot of factors in play. And I think we did a brilliant job balancing what happened today, the topics today, and focusing on solution. And for that, I am truly grateful. Thanks for tuning in to Doctors in the House with myself and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
Every Wednesday morning here on Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show. Tomorrow we have not straight talk, but empowered relationship relief. And for anyone who wants to actually be, I don't know, Dr. Tiffanie, you want to try the Pondera process. I've tried it. It's amazing to release the energy of negative memories from your past or any pain that you're currently going through. Please do contact me if you want to actually be a victim. I mean, a volunteer for the episode. We had 2 signed up and then they both chickened out. So, but what we're going to do is deal with the pain and look for a safe place for your heart during a tough time that some people have during the holidays. So that's the topic tomorrow. Friday, the Hollywood Rebel Report with Ricky Rebel. We're so glad that you tuned in today. Now, peace in, peace out. World peace through inner peace. And take it out, Dr. Tiffanie.
Go and have the best day ever.